So, welcome to Nexus Talks. I'm really excited to learn so much about what you've done. I'm going to try my hardest to keep it in a chronological order, but I know that naturally the conversation is going to sway. So, please, for our listeners, can you tell me a bit more about who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Ryan Allis, and I've been an entrepreneur for my whole life. I'm the author of the book Magic Year: How to Design a Life You Love. And then I run a community for men called the Brotherhood, which is a men's circle. And then I also run a community for CEOs called SaaS Circle. And I previously built a company called iContact, which is a email marketing software company. I went to Harvard Business School for an MBA, and I've been a global traveler, tech entrepreneur, and business builder for the last 20 years. I'm married and have a 16-month-old baby boy, and I live here in Costa Rica.
What's your baby boy called?
His name is Apollo.
Oh, nice. Strong name. You brought up let's start with that because that's, I guess, where I don't want to say this, where your entrepreneurship started because I don't know too much about your young life, but how did you juggle being a university student or a college student and starting a business? Tell me all about that and how you even got the idea.
Yeah, I was 18 years old. I was a freshman at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, and I had been a web designer for a few years, building websites for clients. We had about 30 clients. They all needed a way to email their customers and prospects. There was no easy way to do that back then. There was no MailChimp or Constant Contact. And so we founded iContact, which was one of the first ever email marketing tools. And it made it easy to create, send, and track your email newsletters to your customers and prospects. We grew that company to $50 million a year in sales. We got up to 70,000 paying customers and raised about $40 million in venture capital. And then in 2012, 10 years after we started the company, we sold the company and we had a good exit. It was a 9-figure exit for $169 million. And that was, a brief synopsis of 10 years of hard work.
Yeah, I can imagine it was not that easy the way you just explained it.
No, there's a lot of learnings along the way.
Genuine question, Ryan. Did you know it was going to be that successful when you started it?
No, I think we knew that we were ambitious and young and naive, and that helped, and willing to work for free for a few years, which we had to do, and that we were really solving a market need that was present. And so, if you can help people solve a need in the marketplace and stay consistent at something for 5, 10 years, you can do pretty well. We thought, if we could get the company to 1 million in sales, that would be a success. And it took us 3 years, but we did that. And then it was really in year 4 through 10 that we went from 1 million to 50 million.
When you say we, how many was on your team?
At our peak, we had 275 employees. We had a large team.
H- I'm just trying to get my head around it. So you were what, 18 when you started in college? Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
When did you start eye contact? When you were 18?
I was 18. Yeah.
Okay. Please just what were like the main challenges for you when you first started? Because I imagine there were so many teething problems.
Main challenges with building the business.
Mm,
I don't know. I mean, I think the hardest thing in a new business is getting your first 100 customers,
okay.
getting revenue. And we just really focused on doing everything we possibly could to get new customers. We went around the different restaurants and put up fish bowls so that we could collect business cards. We would type in the emails for the restaurant for $15 a month. You did things that didn't scale. You just got to
Mm.
do whatever it takes to get your first 100 customers. And once you have 100 customers and they're staying and they're sticking around and they like it and you've taken their feedback, you improve your product and then you build a professional sales and marketing engine. These days it's pretty easy with Google, Facebook, and LinkedIn to scale up any business and acquire lots of customers. And so that's what we did. We realized it cost us $500 in ad spend to get a customer that was worth $2,000. And we just did that over and over and over again.
Amazing. What advice would you give to someone who maybe is studying at the moment and trying to weigh up between starting a business and just going down that route? or study and do their business? What's your golden piece of advice?
Yeah, do both. I stayed in school until we got to, I'm trying to remember the exact number. I think it was like $25,000 a month in sales. So basically, like I was like, unless I can make a full time income, I'm going to stay in school. Because what is college besides a good way of college is basically job security. If you get a college degree, you can always go get a job, right? And so I was like, all right, I'm going to stay in school until we're at 25,000 a month in sales. And that took us 18 months to get there. And then after 18 months, we were at 25,000 a month in sales. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to drop out now. And so I only did 2 years of college.
Do you regret it? Do you regret dropping out?
Oh no. I think I think it was a great decision. My dad wrote me a letter explaining why I shouldn't drop out. How would I be able to, get a job if I didn't have a college degree, et cetera. But we were already making $25,000 a month. It was growing quite quickly. I needed to focus. And, I ended up going back to school later and getting a graduate degree from Harvard. And so, I got plenty of schooling later.
Do you still have the letter your dad wrote you?
No, no, I definitely threw that away right away.
Okay, so then tell me, what made you want to pick up a pen and start writing?
Are you asking like why I started writing books?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I was like, I don't think I used a pen. I think I
Oh,
typed it
good
all.
point, actually. Probably use the laptop, right?
Yeah. Like even in 2007, it was all on the computer. Yeah. So I wrote a book called 0 to 1 Million, which is about how to build a company to $1 million in sales. And that published through McGraw-Hill in 2008. That went really well. We were the number 2 book on all of Amazon on our launch day with only Eckhart Tolle in front of us. And then I wrote my second book this year and just published it on Amazon. And that one's called Magic Year: How to Design a Life You Love, which is basically a book on how to create an epic life that you truly enjoy. So I love writing. It's a great thing to do. I like to write a book every 10 years. And then the other 9 years, I like live life and go learn a bunch of lessons.
That sounds like a good balance.
Yeah.
When you say you wrote a book about the kind of life you want to build, obviously without giving away everything, is there anything in there about how to manage work-life balance and then actually pursuing what you love? Or is that pretty much it?
And there's definitely stuff in Magic Year about how to integrate your life with your work. And, right now I'm a 39-year-old dad. I like to work 5 hours a day, 4 days a week. So I work Monday through Thursday, 11 to 4. And that's been really great because then I get to spend the rest of the time with my friends and family and traveling. And when I was in my 20s, though, I worked 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And so that's, 80 hours. And so I worked 4 times as many hours in my 20s as I do now. And that's okay. There's different seasons in life and different times in life. And I think it's probably easier to start a business in your 20s than it is your 40s because you can focus more on doing pretty much nothing but execution.
Love that. I also want to talk about the Brotherhood. Can you please tell me a bit more about that and why you decided to do that or start it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that men are lonely. I think that they don't have, for the most part, close friends that they can really rely on to share what they're actually going through. And it's very commonplace for a man to act tough and pretend like they've got everything under control. It's culturally looked down upon if a man cries or shows vulnerability. And
Mhm.
I think we've seen a lot of destructive, over masculine actions in the world. I mean, pretty much every war in history was started by men. And I think, I don't think we're gonna have a magic bullet solution that's overnight, but I think if we can actually help men actually share what's going on in the world, actually support each other in getting off any bad addictions, creating healthy habits, sharing what's going on in their relationships, romantic relationships, marriages, and then have a place where you can feel safe to tell the truth about what's actually going on, I think we're going to solve the mental health crisis. I think we're going to solve loneliness. And I think we're going to help men be more successful, impactful, and happy. So that's what the Brotherhood does. We're at brotherhoodmen.com. That's the website. We welcome any man who's committed to personal growth. It's $100 a month. So it's affordable enough that, if you're really coming every week, it's 25 bucks a session. It's way cheaper than therapy. And I think actually way more effective than therapy to have a group of guys that hold you accountable to become the best version of yourself.
And it's just in person, you can't, like, do it virtually or anything?
No, it's all online. It's
Oh, it's
all
all
online. Things in person, they're great, but they don't scale. And so we launched the Brotherhood 2 months ago. We have 55 guys in it right now, and it works really well. We do 2 sessions a week, and then we break out into groups of four. And so every week you're with a different group of four, and it allows you to get different advice and guidance than you got the week before.
that honestly is really lovely, like, I don't know many organizations that really focus on that. Like, I know a lot of male friends that go through things and don't talk about it. And I usually know about it from their wives or something's happening, or I can just tell they're down. So creating a space like that, Ryan, is honestly phenomenal. You started it 2 months ago. How did you get the word out for that?
It's all been organic through my personal connections on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram.
Were you surprised about how many people joined up so far?
No, I think it was about what I expected. I think that I'm lucky to just know a lot of people. I've got 23,000 contacts on LinkedIn and got an email list of 30 or 40,000 people that have been following me throughout the last 20 years. And so I'm lucky that when I launch something, I can get traction. And then, I just wanted to get enough. It's small right now. It's a, small business making $5,000 a month, but I think there's an opportunity to scale it up through paid advertising, go after people who follow Tony Robbins and Tim Ferriss and, Joe Dispenza and Dave Asprey and some of the other, leaders in the personal growth and biohacking movement. And, just get these guys together to support each other once a week. It's really a scalable model with, break out into groups of four on Zoom. And we have an online community as well that helps, support each other throughout the week.
Yeah, I think it's just sometimes, obviously, I'm speaking from experience and the people that I know, it's really hard to put yourself out there and put yourself in a space where people are going to know that you're vulnerable or struggling with things. So I really look forward to seeing like how that grows. And is it easy for anyone from anywhere around the world to join? It's not just like exclusively to like US
No,
or
it's
anything.
any man anywhere in the world that's committed to personal growth can, who's committed to helping the other guys, is welcome to join.
Amazing. And you also are the founder of, am I saying it right? SaaS Circle? The SaaS Circle?
Yeah.
Please tell me a bit
Yeah.
about that.
SaaS Circle is a community for software as a service CEOs. So SaaS stands for software as a service. It's an acronym that basically means web-based software, cloud software, software in the browser, like, the tool we're using to record this podcast today. And there's a process to growing a software company, and we help these CEOs implement it inside their companies.
Okay, cool. And can I just ask, obviously, there's quite a lot to go through. Do you get do you still get the same buzz from starting businesses? Does it still feel the same as you did, for example, when you first started iContact?
I'm an entrepreneur. I think I'll always be an entrepreneur. I like building systems that make money while I sleep. If you as an entrepreneur can think about how you can make money while you're sleeping, how to make money while you're on vacation, how to create value for others through building systems that stick around even if you go away for a little bit. That's how you build true wealth, through building impactful businesses.
And also, just to go back to the brotherhood as well, you're not just building impactful businesses on that side, but also the fact that you're trying to help and do good. How have you always felt that way? Have you always wanted to give positive impacts, like just on mental health as well, or is that something that happened recently?
I've always been passionate about making a positive impact in the world. My dad was a Christian minister. My mom was a Buddhist social worker, cared a lot about the communities we lived in. And Growing up, I became really interested in economics and global development and reducing poverty and angel investing in East Africa. And I just got really into like, how do we create a better world that works for everybody? And I actually think the truth is even though there's a lot of news right now about challenges going on in the world, statistically, like in the data, we're living in the most peaceful time in human history, over the last 10,000 years. And in terms of like deaths per capita and injuries per capita from warfare. It gets a lot of attention, no doubt, all over our Instagram feeds and news feeds. But the truth is, we're living in the most peaceful time in history, the most prosperous time in history. And there's actually an opportunity over the next 50, 30, 40 years, really this generation, to create a world in which every human being has access to food, water, shelter, education, healthcare, internet, and things that they need to create a life where they can thrive and achieve their goals. And so I think we are coming toward a world that is environmentally sustainable and economically prosperous with opportunity for all people. Right now, we have that in probably half the world, but it's not evenly distributed. And I think the opportunity is to really have a sustainable, prosperous world for all people over the rest of this century.
Thank you for that, Ryan. So, it wouldn't be Nexus Talks if I didn't ask you for some golden advice. I know you've already shared one piece of advice earlier, but what advice would you give to any entrepreneur listening to this or anyone who wants to start a business? What are your key pieces of advice?
Yeah, I think you got to have a product or service that helps people. If you have a product or service that helps people and you charge enough for it and you stay consistent, you can really build a good business. When you get to the point where there's more revenue coming in than you can handle it, you got to get the team in place and build systems. And then lastly, I like to teach people the formula of success, which has four parts to it. So step one is vision. You got to know where you're going. Step two is belief. You got to believe that you can get there. Step three is action, taking massive action in alignment with your goals every single day. And step four is consistency. You know, the difference between a successful entrepreneur and a failed entrepreneur is usually that they gave up after a year or two. You know, it really takes, I think it's safe to say it takes 10 years to really become a successful entrepreneur, minimum 5. And so if you're not willing to put in the work consistently, it doesn't have to be 80-hour weeks, but you got to put in 20 hours a week, every week, you know, for about 7, 8, 9 years. If you can do that and take massive action, believe in what your vision is, and have a clear guidance on where you're going, then you can actually achieve anything you set your mind to.
Were there ever times in any of your businesses in any stage where you kind of thought, oh, I don't want to do this, I want to quit?
I mean, I think you think about that a lot. And look, I've had successes. I've had 3 successful businesses. I've had 2 not successful businesses. And it's like, sometimes quitting's the right thing to do. The thing is you got to know intuitively, and you develop this as an entrepreneur. You have to have a sense as to, is what you're selling actually making a difference for the customer? And if what you're selling is actually making a difference for the customer, and you get good at marketing, then you're going to have a big business. But I think that the reason why businesses fail is usually because the thing that people are selling isn't valued by the customer. And so if you're offering a product people don't want, don't do that anymore. You really got to go back to the drawing board and really create something that actually helps people solve a real problem that they have. And if you can find something that helps people solve a problem, people will be willing to pay money for that.
Because sometimes people don't know whether it's people doubting them and actually no, it's I have self belief. I'm going to do this. I know it's going to work. And sometimes you need to know when it's like, actually, no, it's not going to work. There's a fine line.
Yeah. Don't care about whether people doubt you or not. That's irrelevant. What matters is, are your revenues going up every month? That's
Mm.
it. Like, if you got one customer this month, next month, go get two. If you got two customers this month, go get four. If you got four, go get eight. And if you can actually demonstrate that people will pay for what you're selling, that's all that business is. The only thing business is selling things that solve problems for people for money. That's what it is. Just do that over and over again, and don't worry about what people are saying.
Thanks for sharing that, Ryan. Now, I obviously can see you're a serial entrepreneur. We know this, we've discussed this. Is there anything else in the pipeline that you're thinking about starting or working on that you can reveal?
Yeah, no, I think that I'm in the business now of building niche mastermind communities. And so I've been building in-person and online communities for about 10 years. I built hive.org into a global community of 3,500 purpose-driven leaders. And I've learned a lot building these communities around the world. Now, what I've realized how to do is how to build online communities that are membership businesses that also have offline in-person events tied to them. And so I'm building a company called Circles. Circles is a company that is in the business of building these niche mastermind communities like the Brotherhood, which is a mastermind community for men, and like SaaS Circle, which is a mastermind community for SaaS CEOs. We're going to build something called Founder Circle next year, which is for entrepreneurs. We're going to build CMO Circle. So, eventually there'll be hundreds and hundreds of these different niche circles that will help spread specialized knowledge to the people that need it.
Amazing. And how can people keep up with everything you're doing? Where can people find you?
Probably best places are Instagram and LinkedIn. I'm just at Ryan Allis on Instagram, and same thing on LinkedIn. And yeah, I write a lot. I publish a lot. Grab a copy of the Magic Yearbook on Amazon, and feel free to reach out to me, DM me on Instagram, or you can just email Ryan at magicyear.com, and that'll be a good way to reach me.
Perfect. We'll also tag everything so it's easier to find you as well. And my final question, Ryan, is authenticity is super important. It's something we love to ask to every guest we have on Nexus. What does authenticity mean to you, and how important do you think it is when you're an entrepreneur to be authentic?
Yeah, I think authenticity is important in human relating. Like if you're building meaningful relationships with people, it's important. I've seen many entrepreneurs build digital businesses where they never really needed to interact with humans face to face. But eventually you're going to get to a point where you need to hire a team, you need to motivate a workforce, you need to find partners, you need to find investors. And so human relating skills are important. And there's, a good classic book called How to Win Friends and Influence People that can teach you how to relate to people, how to be the real you. And I do recommend that book.
Amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Honestly, you've given so much knowledge and so much advice, and honestly, it's been a genuine pleasure speaking with you.